If you were asked the question, what is art, how would you respond? Many people would say the visual arts, painting, sculpting, drawing. Others might answer with the performing arts of dance, music, or theater. I'm your host, Diane Bykowski, and this is Scottsdale Art Beat. Today we are going to be introducing you to a very interesting gentleman, Norman Haight, Scottsdale musician and artist and luthier. If you don't know what that is, you'll soon find out. He has a very interesting art form, the art of building an acoustical guitar. Welcome to Scottsdale Art Beat, Norm.
Thanks, Diane. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. What a wonderful compound here you have.
Yeah, this is just a great place. We fell in love with this the first time we saw it.
So when you saw this, you knew this was the perfect spot?
Our son told us this was the spot. We looked at 7 other houses after this and came back to this one.
So were you already building guitars at that point?
Yeah, I was. So we were definitely looking for a place that either had shop space or had room to build shop space.
How did this all start?
I've always wanted to build a guitar, but all those funny things about how do you bend the sides, so I figured I'd build box guitars.
Okay.
It's simple enough, right? Build a box, put strings on it. And I never did build one of those. I went down, I checked out the luthier school, but at the time I was working full-time. My boss wasn't about to let me have 5 months off to learn how to build guitars. So I said, how am I going to learn this? They said, well, you can buy the books. I said, there's books? So my next stop was the Scottsdale Public Library. And we found books on, very old books on how to build guitars, how to bend the sides, how to do, all of the operations. And I just went out and got some appropriate wood and started building. And then as I continued in the process, I met other people that were doing that, talked to them about how they did certain things, and I found out there's a Guild of American Luthiers called the Guild of American Luthiers.
And where are they located?
Tacoma, Washington.
Have you ever actually gone there to...
Yeah, we go to the conventions every year that we can. They have one every 2 years, sometimes every 3 years. So we go up and meet with 300 or 400 other luthiers
who live throughout the world?
Throughout the world, and talk shop for 4 days.
So, the Stradivarius violin, and now we have the Haight guitar.
The Haight guitar, yeah.
Is there, are you building a name for yourself with the type of guitar that you actually build?
I like to think so.
What makes it unique?
What makes my guitars unique are the attention that I pay to the soundboard of the guitar, what goes on in the top. And we can show you a little more of that later when we go into the shop. But if the top isn't free to move, isn't able to make music, it doesn't matter what else you do to the instrument. It's not going to have a pleasant tone.
At what point did you decide you want this as a career, to build guitars versus being a musician?
When I started building guitars, Sharon, my wife, asked at one point, what do you want to do when you retire? I said, I want to build guitars when I retire. And, I expected oh yeah, sure, you want to build guitars. Instead, she says, well, you better get started.
Oh, how nice.
And that was 1989.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history. I, kept my day job. This was a very nice hobby for many years. When in 2001, when that downturn happened after 9/11, the company I was working with went bankrupt. No way to replace that income, so I said, if I'm going to work for nothing, I might as well work for myself. And I started building guitars. So
how many students do you have building guitars? Or do you build them and then sell them, or what's the process?
I build and then sell a certain amount of my production every year, and I reserve 2 to 5 guitars for purely custom orders, where a guy comes in and says, hey, I want this and this and this, I can't get it on a factory guitar, can we do it? So those design processes take a lot of time, so I can't make very many of those a year and still make a living and keep the price affordable. So I do have custom instruments, like I said, 2 to 5 a year that I do. And then the rest of my time is devoted to helping people learn how to build guitars.
So there's actually 3 different phases of your business then.
I have several professional musicians playing my guitar. One of our professionals is on the verge of breaking onto the national scene, and we're really excited for her. Zella Day is her name, and she's back in Nashville this week doing some songwriting.
Well, gosh, we'll be looking forward to seeing her.
She's a lot of fun. She's a great person.
And does she only play your guitars?
She only plays my guitar.
Did you do anything special to her guitar?
Her guitar has butterflies all over it.
Okay. Are they painted? Are they inlaid?
They're inlaid.
Now, I noticed on your website that some of your students named their guitars.
Yeah.
There's a smile on your face with that one.
Well, there's the names. People like to come up with a name for their guitar company. What am I going to call my guitars that I make? Some of my students come in with the intent of learning how to build guitars so they can then go on and produce more guitars and sell them or give them to relatives, so they will come up with a trade name. The last student came up with Shiloh guitars.
So when these students come here, do they tell you what they want the guitar to sound like, and then you can tell them this big, this size, this wood?
All of that, yeah. And it varies with each student. And of course, the issue with sound is that it's so subjective.
Mm-hmm.
What would sound bright to you might not be bright to me. What would sound, what's some of the terms that are used? Warm. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What does warm sound like?
So it's quite subjective.
Crisp. What does crisp sound like? Very subjective. But in general terms, we talk a lot and try to establish a common language,
mm-hmm.
And then go from there. If they want a dry, warm sound, whatever that means.
Or can they tell you, I like the music of this particular musician and the sound of his guitar? Would that be helpful?
That's not as helpful because of the engineering that goes into producing a recording. There's so many things they can do on the soundboard to alter the way an instrument sounds. So that's a little more subjective. Usually it's when, I've played this brand of guitar and
mm-hmm.
it had this kind of wood, and that helps me in very broad brush stroke terms, since manufacturers don't do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people that come in, I hate the sound of mahogany Sitka guitars, and they'll play one of my mahogany Sitka guitars and say, I love this. What is this?
What makes it so different?
It's mahogany and Sitka. No, it can't be. I hate those.
Does putting the inlay in, does that make it sound any different?
Not a lot. No, the inlay is fairly purely decorative. You can do anything you want to make your guitar look nice. And a lot of my custom customers will come to me for special inlay because they want something that the factories don't offer,
mm-hmm.
or want to charge, several $1,000s to do.
What about someone's hand size? Would that have anything to do with how large the guitar needs to be custom fitted to that person?
I am so glad you asked that question. Yeah, the neck. Put your hand around that one.
Okay.
That should be fairly comfortable for you.
It
You
is.
have small to medium-sized hands.
Mm-hmm.
Now, pick up that guitar and put your hand around that.
Oh no, I don't like this at all.
Yeah.
I would have arthritis in my hands with that one.
Yeah.
But probably for you, this would be very comfortable.
This is actually a small neck for a classical guitar. And a person with large hands is going to have a real problem with this size of a neck. So we can make a neck that's, up to probably 1/4 of an inch larger,
mm-hmm.
and that will accommodate a person with much larger hands.
And what about the length of this entire neck?
Is
that standard?
The length is, there are 2 standard lengths. It is totally customizable. 25 and 25.5 are the 2 standard lengths.
Mm-hmm.
And with the slightly longer, you get a little tighter string for the same pitch, so it's supposedly louder and more powerful.
Now I'm looking at this. This is really beautiful. Now this
Thank
would
you.
be inlay work in here.
Mm-hmm.
And that looks like mother of pearl or...
This is mother of pearl and crushed malachite with an ebony border.
Oh my.
Yeah.
So that is quite a process to put that together, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
And the type of wood here, what are we looking at?
This is Sitka spruce.
Is that common?
Sitka spruce is probably the most common wood used. It's very plentiful. and you can get really good-looking wood at reasonable prices.
And the side, I'm sure this doesn't say side of guitar and back. What's the
Back and side.
Oh, okay. Very technical.
Yeah, this is black walnut from Oregon.
Okay.
And the neck is mahogany from Central America with an ebony bridge, fretboard, and head plate.
Now, do you get to play much? I mean, we talked
No.
about you building this, but you probably don't have no time to play?
I spend about 60 hours a week building, and Sunday is my play day. So I'm not allowed in the shop on Sunday.
Do they ever, after it's all built, do you get together and play a little?
Yeah, we try to sneak in as much time as we can.
Maybe we should go into your shop and have a look at
Sure.
some of the wood and some of the actual process.
Real good. Let's go.
Aren't you laughing?